Hello indie game fans, another huge week of indie games awaits with 4 throwbacks and quite a number of roguelites, so let's begin with the Steam and Switch release of Salt and Sacrifice. The follow-up to Salt and Sanctuary, which did release on the Epic Games Store last year, but if you're not a fan of that storefront, now's your chance to pick it up. It's a 2D Souls-like title, which is similar to the original, but has some Monster Hunter-like elements of bosses hunting you down in the world and even running away when injured, and is pretty neat. I previewed Cursorblade not too long ago, and here we are with the Steam release, in which its demo was previously available via itch.io. It's a bullet hell roguelite in which you use your cursor to attack, but have to dodge attacks as well, and is something different in the sea of Vampire Survivors clones. This video is brought to you by Gods Against Machines, a roguelite strategy game in which you play as an all-powerful god fighting back against a ruthless race of machines that are invading and corrupting your world. Use a variety of powerful spells and abilities to unleash destruction on your enemies while protecting Gaia's crystals from their forces to maximize your own power. There are 4 gods to choose from the raw power of the fire god to water, earth and wind, each with a unique way of dealing with their enemies, from rising sea levels to summoning giants to the powerful void beam that obliterates everything in its path. It has a roguelite campaign structure of fighting through increasingly difficult outposts, but if you dare, you can skip regions to go deeper into enemy territory, having an interesting risk-reward system as well, so if interested, play the demo, link in the description below, and don't forget to wishlist the game. Here's a pretty authentic looking boomer shooter in Beyond Sunset, a title set in a cyberpunk world in which you play as an enhanced street samurai searching for answers. The action looks fast paced and seems to have enemy variety from zombies, robots and the Yakuza, with interesting looking levels mixing cyberpunk cityscapes and cyberspace levels, but do note that it will be an early access release. Hey, if you made it this far, subscribe to my weekly newsletter to keep on top of all things indie games, link in the description below. I've been keeping an eye on this title for quite a while, since Spells and Secrets is a Magic Academy action roguelite in which you play as a student at the academy which has suddenly come under attack by magical creatures, so it's up to you to save the day. There are a variety of spells that you can use, with various meta progression unlocks in between runs, and even has co-op support and character customization. As such, I think that the theme alone makes it of interest and has dramatically improved visually as compared to early gameplay footage, so here's hoping the systems and combat are good.
Knock out that core and make us some money.
This next title is somewhat back from the dead, since GUNHEAD has been in development for the longest of time without updates, constantly being without a release date, but it all changed a couple of weeks ago when it suddenly got a new trailer out of nowhere and a release date as well.
Central core destroyed. I knew I had a good feeling about you, kid. Bigger ships ahead. Let's roll the dice and see if we
It's a roguelite first-person shooter in which you control a pirate mech with a gun as a head, heading into derelict spaceships to earn an income, having to fight off the drones within.
Whoa! Watch out for those alarm lasers! These other defense systems may also fail, so you might want to deal with them.
It is the sequel to the top-down action roguelite named Cryptarch from 2017, with this developer having quite the pedigree, which makes this of interest.
What sort of freak has that many limbs?
Pioneers got
Bigger games begin with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. the sequel to a platform fighter from 2021 that was better than it had any right to be, starring all your favourite Nickelodeon characters from beloved IP, and seems to have gotten a graphical update with more modes like a roguelike-ish single-player campaign and should be neat. I've put Risk of Rain Returns under the bigger games section since some of you might not know this, but the Risk of Rain IP was sold to Gearbox, who themselves are now under the Embracer Group banner, so it's not a small indie team anymore, but the legendary roguelike platformer is back, enhanced and improved, with the crescendo events here being something to behold.
Life in the old castle. Welcome, lords and ladies, to our reimagining of the original castle sim, Stronghold.
Similarly, another remaster of note is Stronghold Definitive Edition, a remaster of a classic RTS from 2001, which people absolutely love, so let's hope it lives up to nostalgic expectations.
Actually, it kind of smells like feces. Featuring a complete artwork overhaul from miserable peasants to the glorious English beasters, with upgraded characters, buildings, and animations. Made even better during an intense castle siege, as vying commanders compete for total domination in brutal medieval warfare. Also, side note, we added Steam multiplayer, so that you don't have to jump through 1,000 hoops to play with your friend Greg, like you did in the original. Time to die, Greg. But fear not, my lords and ladies, for that isn't it. We also have a new campaign, Steam Workshop support, a fully remastered soundtrack, returning voice actors, a new castle trail of siege scenarios, a modernized UI with a classic mode option of course, fresh multiplayer maps, and more.
Polish developer 11-Bit Studios is not a small team, with their next title being the epic sci-fi narrative adventure game The Invincible, set on an alien planet and a self-styled atom punk world in which you play as a scientist looking for a missing crew. Smaller games begin with Cobalt Core, a roguelite deck builder with a sci-fi ship theme, looking to carry on the legacy of FTL, but less complex in the space management aspect, instead focusing on deck building and lateral movement, and seems great. A neat-looking life sim title that is not your typical farming sim is Don't Die in the West, an open-world cowboy life RPG in which you build a ranch of your own and are able to explore the frontier, with options of being a hero or a notorious outlaw, and seems interesting, although I'm not too sure about the legless character designs.
And it's up to you to save the world.
Nah.
What do you mean, nah?
It just seems like a lot of work.
But all of these hot, eligible singles will die.
Whoa, hold up. You said they're single?
Doomsday Paradise is a visual novel dating sim crossed with a turn-based deck-building RPG, looking to be in the vein of games like Monster Prom.
Demons attacking the town.
Are those cards? Oh, this is an indie game, isn't it?
It's a dating game with RPG elements. Power up and learn new abilities by talking to the townsfolk.
You mean hitting on them? Woo!
Yes, I mean hitting on them. Then use the skills you've learned to keep the town safe from annihilation.
Hold on a sec, why is there 4 people? Is this multiplayer?
It's a 4-player game. Team up or sabotage your friends while building a shared narrative.
You mean they might try to stop me from getting my date?
They're on your side.
I won't let them! I'll take them all down first!
Welcome to Doomsday Paradise, the horny party game where you can play with your friends, battle monsters, get a date, and friend pairs. With over 100 endings, you will never run out of ways to make my life miserable. Coming.
Another game which got a significant visual overhaul since we last saw it is Noreya the Gold Project, a Metroidvania title in which you have to choose between corrupting gold and purifying light, which results in 2 unique, persistent worlds depending on your choices, which is neat and has a good look, although it will be an early access release, which is not typical for games in this genre. Robocraft 2 is the sequel to a massive, free multiplayer PvP title with customizable robots and will similarly be free as well. In addition to Risk of Rain returns, the second throwback title is Strike Force Heroes, a remastered and updated version of a browser game from 2012, being an arena shooter with multiplayer support, and seems to have a lot of momentum leading up to the release. An impressive looking title is the Awakener Forgotten Oath, which, clunky title aside, is a third-person action roguelite which I predicted we will begin to see more of and looks good. The final nostalgia injection of the week is the Elephant Collection, one that compiles 10 Flash games and remasters them for a new era, coming to us from Flash game legend JMTB02 and is of note. TYPECAST looks like a Vampire Survivors clone, but is actually a Blood Hell title in which you have to type to shoot, so it's a twist on the formula which makes it kind of interesting. The top 5 begins with the 1.0 release of RoboQuest, an epic roguelite first-person shooter with a fantastic cel-shaded art style, where in the 3 years or so of early access has really shaped up to be one of the best in the genre. It's a very fast-paced game with a huge variety in weapons as well as plenty of traversal options, somehow also having co-op support to be fun with a friend. If you love shooters, this is a must-get and should be among the best games of the year. Here's another curiosity in Receipt, a roguelite strategy auto-battler game in which you use your cards and cast spells in real time as you battle your way through the world. I'm a fan of the pixel art in this, and publisher Goblins is really carving out a niche for themselves, with this appearing to be similar to Shogun Showdown, but different enough to be of note. If you're an indie developer and have no idea how to start with marketing your game, get on my mailing list via the link in the description below, where I'll send you some free templates and guides soon. The 1.0 release of this Korean dystopian cyberpunk action platformer is also of interest, in which Sanabi features awesome pixel art, fluid animations, and a grappling hook that is used cleverly in the platforming and action. You play as a retired veteran called back into service to hunt down an entity known as Sanabi as you ascend the megacity ruled by a corrupt conglomerate. It has been really impressive so far in early access, and dare I say, has some Katana Zero vibes and is another example of early access done right. I showed off this game back in my summer showcase in June, in which Mob Factory caught my eye for mashing together two core ideas of interest, the first being factory building like Factorio, and the second adding a tower defense element as you build out an ever-expanding dungeon. Sure, there have been games like Mindustry before, but the enemies here actually travel along the conveyor belts, which, after being killed by towers, conveniently turns into resources to fuel our factory, with a great, if minimalist, pixel art look as well. I've hyped this game up quite a bit for good reason, since Cuisinier is one part action roguelite and one part restaurant simulator in which you need to pay off debts, having a familiar setup to games like Recettear and Moonlighter, but with a more adorable look. The food looks delicious and the action fun, but I do find that these types of games have a very compelling gameplay loop that keeps me playing day after day, so fingers crossed it lives up to my expectations with more of the best roguelites in this video.